In this video, we're going to be talking about how to use channels to make a selection in Photoshop. Whether you want to replace the skies, whether you want to select something very intricate, this is kind of the selection method that you might use when all of the selection method doesn't work. When nothing seems to work, select color range doesn't work, select and mask doesn't work, that's when this method comes to rescue. So without any further ado, let's get started. Hey there, this is Unmesh and I seem to have caged myself inside the interface of Photoshop, but that's okay. So here, as you can see, suppose we want to replace the skies, but there's a problem. The trees, they have always been a bad omen when it comes to selecting the skies, because look at the branches, it's so difficult. Even select and mask is difficult to use in this kind of image. Now what to do? Channel selection, easy. Before we move on to channel selection, here's what I want you to remember always. Every image that you see on the screen is composed of three colors: red, green, and blue. And guess what? I have a proof video proving that those are combined of those three colors. If you want to check it out right here. How that will help here? We'll see it. But just remember for now that every image is composed of red, green, and blue. Alright, so let's move on to channels. Click on this channels tab if you don't see it. Windows, make sure you click on this channel, make sure this is checked, okay? This is the RGB, this is the channel which combines all the three colors, and that's how you see all the colors in this photo. Now, these are the red channel, the green channel, and the blue channel. All of these combine to give you the RGB. Now, some of you might say, but these are all black and white images. Red is black and white, green is black and white, blue is black and white. Guys, these are all just representations, okay? Suppose I move on to the red channel. The areas that are white are the areas where red is most applied, okay? The areas that are black are the areas where red is least applied. When it's completely black, no red is applied there, okay? Let's move on to this blue one. Since the sky is blue, therefore you can see the sky is very bright in this. And the ground is not blue, it's green. There's no blue in it, therefore it's very dark. So think of this as masks. The more the brightness, the more the color you have of that particular channel. You get the idea? For example, in green, as you can see, the ground is so bright, some of the trees are brighter than the other channels. You know why? Because the brighter the area, the more you have the color in it. Get the idea? Makes sense? Alright. Now how is this gonna help? Click on every channel and see and look for a channel where the sky is very bright and the foreground is dark. Okay, so in this case it is blue. You know why? Because the sky is blue in this case and the ground is green. There's less of blue here. So this channel will help you as a mask to select the skies. But there's a couple of adjustments that we have to do. As you can see, the ground is not completely black and the sky is not completely white. So to make a copy, first of all, first job of you is to make a copy of this mask, okay? So press and hold Controller command and click on this mask. This makes a selection based upon the luminosity. The brighter areas are selected, the darker areas are not selected. So click on this. This makes a copy of this channel called Alpha 1. You can always rename it, but we're gonna leave it as it is. Press Ctrl D. Now how is this gonna help? Well, our job now is to make the sky completely white and make the foreground, the trees and everything completely black, okay? So we would go to Image, Adjustments and Levels, and we'll try levels to make that happen. So let's zoom in. Take the slider from the left to make it darker. Take the slider from the right to make it brighter, okay? Up until this point we are not doing any harm to the image, but if you zoom in, have a look. It's pretty fine, it's looking all nice, but if you go beyond a certain limit, it's going to fry up the edges. You don't want that. You want to stay within limits, okay? This amount of darkness is good. That's too much, watch. Now that's too much, that's frying up the inside of the trees. You don't want that to happen. That's okay, that's pretty much fine. Now try the middle slider. Okay, let's look at the before and after. So, to look at the before and after in this case, check out the preview. This is the before and this is the after. The sky is a little whiter, right? Now this is pretty good, not awesome. Let's try a little bit more. Make sure the edges are not frying up. that might lead to a very rough selection which will totally look unreal, and you don't want that to happen, right? So have a look. This is fine. Click OK. Alright, now as you can see, the sky is white but not completely white. There are some areas that we need to look after. This gray area and this black area that we might want to darken. So take a brush and darken those areas. Now I know some of you might say this might take ages to paint over the areas that are dark and the bright. It's going to be a lot of trouble. No, it's not going to be. Take the brush, okay? You want to make it brighter, change the blend mode to overlay and then paint. Gives an error, could not complete your request because no layers are selected. Now watch, this is an important thing to learn. Make sure you go back to the layers and make sure you select this layer, okay? And then come back to channels and select this alpha thing, and now this will paint, okay? Now try painting, now watch. Now even if you spill to the dark areas, see, it's not painting over the dark areas, just the bright areas. You know why? Because if you have watched my previous video about blend modes, there I talk about overlay is such a blend mode which makes bright things brighter and dark things darker. So if we have white selected, anything which is black remains black. That's not going to change, okay? So paint over this, okay? And you might want to do a little bit of painting here and there. Don't fry up the edges, just painting here and there, okay? Great. Now the similar thing goes with black. When you select black and try to paint over a white area, it will not paint. But when you select black and try to paint over a dark area, watch. It's painting. Isn't this amazing? So that's how wonderful a blend mode like overlay is, okay? So let's try painting over these areas, these branches. We want it to be completely dark. There you go. Alright, now that's pretty good. Now we have to select the land. We have to paint over the land. So quickly let's zoom out and just select a bigger brush, okay? And just paint over the corners. There you go. Awesome, isn't it? Now for the interior parts, you can easily make a selection. Take the lasso tool, make a selection. Oops, make a selection of this area. You don't have to be super perfect about it. Make a selection and fill it with black. How to fill it with black? Alt backspace. If you're using a Mac, Alt or Option, delete. Okay, fill it with black. Fills it with black. Also, you can fill it with the paint bucket tool. It's all the same thing. Now we have pretty good selection. All you have to do now is press and hold Controller Command, click on this, and you have a very good selection. And come back to the layers, make sure this is selected, and click on this layer mask. But you see, this does just the opposite. It makes the sky visible and the foreground invisible, and we don't want that. We want just the opposite of this. So make sure you select this mask and press Controller Command I. Watch. As you can see, the sky is now gone. Look at how perfect the selection is. Let's zoom in. Let's have a look. Look. Isn't this beautiful? Alright, so what you can do, even if you think the selection is not nice, you can always go back to the mask and edit it later. You can always take the brush and paint in the areas that it's left out or something. So you can import any other sky. In this case, I'm going to use the Pexels Photoshop plugin to search for free stock photos. And I like this one. I'm just going to click on this one. And this is currently downloading the image. And once it downloads the image, it will import it into Photoshop just as a layer. Okay, so it has imported the image, but this layer is just above this one. So let's take it beneath this one and let's make it a little bigger. Okay, there you go. Isn't this nice? Okay, so let's have a look at the previous sky. Okay, to turn off and on the mask, press and hold Shift and click on the mask. This turns off the mask. So you might have to do a little bit of adjustments in this. So add a curves adjustment layer and let's make it a little darker. Okay, and just have a look at the previous sky. So this was a little less bluer and a little more, have a look, little more aqua color, you might say. So you might have to go to the curves and you might have to go to blues and might have to try a little desaturate it a bit and maybe green color it a bit, something like that. And maybe add a hue saturation layer and let's desaturate it a little bit. Have a look. Now this is much better than what we have previously. So this is the before. This is the after. Matching, right? Before sky, after sky. So that's how you match skies in Photoshop. We talked about how to match stuff using curves in my previous video. If you want to check it out right here. Okay, I'll link it somewhere. Now, suppose you want to make it just like a sunset scene. how to do that. And this is the fun part, okay? Let's delete everything. We don't want this. Let's try a sunset sky. Something sunset. Let's go ahead and really search it. I had saved it. I remember that. And this one, okay? So let's click on this. Let's import that and you'll see the fun. Here's the thing. Whenever you're making a composite, here's what I want you to remember. Always look for where the light is coming from. Is it coming from the right, from the left, from the top, from the bottom, from front, from behind? Where is the light coming from? In this image, as you can see, the light is at the back. Okay, let's take this layer beneath this one and let's make it a little bigger. Now this is looking terrible, I know. But let's look at the sun. The sun is behind the trees, so how can you expect the trees to be brighter and greener? You cannot expect them to be like that. You expect them to be black, dark, because sun is in the behind. So you expect them to be acting like silhouettes. So let's make it black. Add a solid color adjustment layer, select black, and to make the solid color adjustment layer apply to just this one, press and hold Alt or Option and click on this. Watch. Isn't this amazing? Now the reason why I asked you to create a solid color adjustment layer is that you can always go ahead and control the opacity if you want to, something like that. You can always go ahead and rub off the areas, rub off the effect from the corners of the trees to have that green tint, but in this case we don't want it, we want it to be completely black, so it's more flexible and better and efficient. Something like that. So I hope this video helped you, and if it did, you know the drill, you know what to do. Make sure to give us a like, and also don't forget to subscribe, and not just subscribe, click on that bell button so that you don't miss any other future tips, tricks and tutorials. I'll see you guys in my next one. Till then, stay tuned and make sure that you keep creating.